Dear friends, I'm very grateful for the Woman of Europe award. It really means a lot to me. When I became Prime Minister in January 2021, I was the first woman in Estonia to do this job. And Estonia became globally talked about because for half a year we were the only country in the world with women both as a Prime Minister as well as the President. No worries, by now we have restored the gender equality in these positions as well. But all jokes aside, when I became Prime Minister, what surprised me was that in the beginning my gender became the most talked about thing. My focus was leading the government, but what seemed to excite the media and the public even more than my vision for the country or my professional experience was the fact that I was a woman. You can't count the number of times I heard the phrase female Prime Minister. How often have you heard the phrase male Prime Minister? And I was also surprised by some of the questions I received in the interviews many times over. What does it feel to be a female Prime Minister? Or how many times have you cried because of work? I found it strange because I can't recall any male Prime Minister ever being asked those questions. I pointed this controversy out to journalists. Would you ask a man those questions? Most journalists seemed confused. No, why? As this probably had never occurred to them before. But it is not just the media. When I entered politics, I suddenly started receiving all sorts of advice. Although mostly well-meaning, they suggested, cut your hair, wear trousers, talk with a lower voice. Basically, try to be more like a man. When I left the meeting in the evening, saying I had to go home to my family, I was giving the advice, never say you have to go home to your family. Just say you have to go to another meeting. So next time I actually had another meeting and I said I have to leave for another meeting. And then people said, but who is home with your family? Who is cooking dinner? It is as if you can't just win. And when I was critiqued because supposedly I lacked experience despite having worked myself up to 2 partnership positions as an attorney at law, spending years in the Estonian and European parliaments, and speaking 5 languages, I checked the CV of one of the leaders of the opposition. Before becoming a minister, his only work experience had been member of parliament. I'm sure many women have similar stories to share. I found it frustrating and sad, but in hindsight, I also tried to understand people's reactions. It was because a woman in a position of power felt exceptional to society. And this is in a way understandable. After all, according to the UN, we are still 300 years away from gender equality. A woman in power should not be something remarkable. Thankfully, I believe it is changing. I do not think women are better politicians than men, or men better politicians than women. It is simply that we have different life experiences. For balanced decisions, we need both genders represented. Equality and inclusion do not happen by accident. Leadership matters, and leadership can make a difference. If women leaders are not visible, then where should young girls get their role models from? If we don't nudge girls to learn IT or maths and boys to consider becoming teachers or care workers, then how do we encourage stereotype-free career choices? Gender equality is not only a matter of justice, but also a matter of economic growth and competitiveness. An uneven care burden at home is an issue that is more or less consistent across the world. It tends to fall far more on women. If we shift that burden so that it falls more evenly, the potential benefits will be clear. It will free up more women to enter the workforce and turbocharge the economy. Sharing unpaid care work more evenly can also avoid numerous physical and mental health problems associated with overwork. Parental leave policy can be of essential help here. It must be carefully built so that it would not enforce gender stereotypes all over again, but rather reduce them. For this reason, in Estonia, we have created a flexible system which encourages fathers to share in care responsibilities. Finally, I focused on gender equality, but equality is of course much broader. This year, we legalized same-sex marriage in Estonia. This has been an important step closer to a more just and socially inclusive society. I wish everyone wisdom and resilience working together towards an equal society. It is a long-term goal, but let us keep in mind, everything that is done or not done for equality changes people's lives and can change history for future generations. And in case you're wondering, I did end up buying some trousers for this job, but only because my work often takes me to military locations and it was just so much more comfortable to climb the tanks and armored vehicles in trousers rather than dresses. So thank you again for the Woman of Europe Award, and I wish you all the best.